Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
All righty, I'm looking at an email from Chuck. It says, "You're not on the air." Hey, Chuck, tell me something I don't know. I'm on the air now. If any of you are still there, I'm sorry. It's not my fault. It's somewhat my fault, I suppose. I don't know. How do you... I've been grousing about the traffic in downtown for some time, and so what did I expect? But, man, I don't recall any time since I've been in Pittsburgh where you literally cannot turn a corner and not expect that you'll encounter a road closed sign. I mean, or the road dug up. It's like they've dug up every corner downtown. So anyway, I'm sorry. I mean, I left in plenty of time, but I did not factor in a 15-minute dead stop on 529. That's where I got stuck. So if any of you are there, welcome. It's a Thursday, and it's a little bit late. But here we are, and lots of things to talk about. I also have to come clean. I did not watch the entire Republican debate because, after all, it's a year until the election. And after all, I watched at least an hour, a little bit more, and that's more than enough, I think, for any sentient being to be asked to tolerate. I mean, I think what the debates do is they do start whittling things down. And, I mean, my sense of the debate, for those of you, first of all, the total lack of control of the debate by the moderators was astounding and, frankly, embarrassing. The vocal hostility of the audience toward the moderators was... what is it about... What is it? It's not polite. Are these people who teach... These people are parents who teach their children how to behave respectfully? Are these people... I'm just... The sort of lack of respect and playing by the rules and all those things that I thought we were supposed to all sort of agree on. And if anything, Republicans with their family values and traditional blah, blah, blah would be most likely to uphold. And it just, it to me was extremely depressing. I do think that, the two headliners, Trump and Carson, were sort of not even part of it because the subject was economics, and we all know that they don't really have a clue what's going on. So the real pals sort of took over on that one. And depressing. If Jeb Bush survives another month, I'll be shocked. That ain't happening. And that's amazing because I think if you had asked any of us 6 months ago who the Democratic nominee was likely to be, we would have said Jeb Bush. Jeb Bush is, he's on life support. He literally is... He's not going to make it. There's no way. It's quite clear that he doesn't have whatever it is, the fire in the belly, the blah, 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 blah. He's also, just in terms of dumb luck, he's running in a year in which it's totally clear that the Republican voters want an outsider. And if your dad was the president of the United States, your grandfather was a senator, your brother was the president of the United States, you were a governor, and I'm sorry, you ain't going to be the guy they want. They don't want any of it anymore, clearly. And then he's so sort of dull and lackluster. And without a doubt, Rubio, the young Turk, cleaned his clock last night. It was awful to watch. I mean, I really found it horrible. So who's out of it? I mean, who's out of it? Christie is out of it. He ain't going to do it. Huckabee's out of it. Rand Paul is out of it. The four people who were in the JV debate prior to it are clearly out of it. That'd be Lindsey Graham and Jindal and Pataki and Santorum. So let's get real about who potentially is going to be the nominee of the Republican Party. The people still in it are, believe it or not, Donald Trump, Ben Carson, Marco Rubio, John Kasich? I don't know why we're keeping him in. Well, if we're keeping him in, then we maybe have to keep some of the others in, but I just don't see it. I think it's increasingly looking like it's going to be Rubio. And he looks like wet behind the ears to me. Oh, dear. So, I don't know. It certainly would help the Republicans with one of their difficulties, that being that they have literally offended every demographic group in the country except white heterosexual Christian males. But obviously, Rubio could help them get a little bit more with the Hispanic vote. I frankly don't see how Republicans can win national elections anymore. I just can't. I just don't. John Boehner said goodbye this morning. I'll miss that sobbing orange man. And now replaced by the extremely ambitious, blue-eyed, widow-peaked congressman from Janesville, Wisconsin. I'm saying all this because I absolutely am blanking on his friggin' name. Paul Ryan. Wow. So he's about to be elected right about now. Right about now, they're electing him Speaker of the House. And, of course, yesterday, the longest-serving Speaker of the House in Republican history was in court and admitting to having committed some felonies. But committing the felonies so that it would not come to light some really heavy-duty felonies that he was being extorted, blackmailed about. And that was that as a high school wrestling coach, he was performing some holds on some of the boys that I don't think pass muster. So I'll tell you. So we had 3 speakers of the House, Republican speakers of the House, in the news. And of the 3, without a doubt, my favorite is the sobbing orange man, and he's now gone and can play golf as long as he wants. That's a happy guy. That might be the happiest guy in Washington D.C. I don't know that he'll be crying today. What we got? Colette on the debate. Lynn, I watched from 9 o'clock to the end. Well, Colette, you're a better woman than I. I mean, I had a World Series to monitor, which is looking like it's going to be a blowout. Anyway, so you watched from 9 till the end. The moderators were terrible, Colette says. I thought so, too. I mean, I just thought the whole thing, they had no control. The questions did seem ridiculous often. Colette says the questions were absurd. The candidates were constantly whining about their time, and half of them didn't actually ever answer the questions. they're politicians. That's what politicians do. That's why I hate interviewing politicians, because the only role an interviewer has is to simply be there and be totally inconsequential, to ask questions that are ignored, and then to sit there and look for a way to shut the guy up so you can ask another question which will be totally ignored. Because they just babble on with their, and that goes for politicians I like. Like when we had Joe Sestak on the other day. I mean, I respect Joe Sestak. I like Joe Sestak. I would hope that he could be our senator. He would be so head and shoulders above Pat Toomey beyond belief. But even Sestak, when I'm interviewing him, is like, they're on automatic pilot. They're droning on there. Well, then I walked across this state. I don't know. So, Colette, I was reading your thing. It was almost unbearable. Well, see, I thought it was unbearable. So you took 2 hours of the unbearable. You're a tough lady, Colette. The post-debate show. Oh, God, you even did. The post-debate show on Anderson Cooper was weird, too. They had Columba Bush, that would be Jeb's wife, on, and were treating her as if she was a political analyst. She is the least political Bush in existence. She's not only doesn't follow politics, she doesn't like politics. She's a shy woman. She wants to be left alone. I'm surprised they had her on. I really am. Maybe they're so desperate to bolster Jeb's chances that they think she will, what? I don't know. Humanize him? I don't think so. He's saddled with a wife who doesn't want to be first lady in the first place. Would she be our first foreign-born first lady? I'm trying to think. Well, Trump also has a foreign-born wife. And I think one of the others does too. But I don't think we've had a foreign-born first lady. Chuck on the debate. I too only watched an hour, if you can call it a debate. That's nothing but a reality show, and a poor one at that. There were too many candidates on stage. The moderators were terrible. Yeah, I think if you were to say who lost the debate, there were two big losers, Jeb Bush and CNBC. I mean, did you?
John Quincy Adams.
His wife was born John Quincy Adams' wife was born in England. Well, thank you very much. Okay, so there we have it. And what was her name? Do we know? No, okay. Louisa was English. Okay. And yeah, Chuck was also bothered by the audience hooting and hollering and booing and just generally behaving like middle school kids. We should have done? We should have brought that cop who lost his job yesterday in South Carolina in to clean the place up. Throw a few people across the stage. Shut the audience up. It would have helped. It would have helped. And anyway, the guy does. He needs a gig. Chuck writes, I can see why people like Ben Carson. Although I have to tell you, Ben Carson's demeanor and his that what the Donald calls low energy, that sort of affectless, monotone, real soft speak, actually reminds me of somebody who is a little mentally deficient. I mean, and obviously he's not. I mean, in a normal sense. I mean, clearly has a functional brain. But he just seems, never mind, I won't say it. He seems odd, really odd to me. Like, like of Mice and Men, like Lenny. He just reminds me of a, just sort of like that. And nice, wouldn't hurt a flea. Nice guy. But weird. Oh, God. Okay. And Chuck writes, yeah, Ben Carson at least seems like, like a person, I guess. His opponents last night came armed with rehearsed sound bites and gotcha phrases, but Carson seems to just speak from the heart and head. And drones. See, I can't listen to him. Ben Carson seems to expose the others for what they are, career politicians. This debate format has to change. I don't know what you do. I don't know what. There's another debate coming up. When? I forget. I don't think they can expect any of us to do this over and over, and I might not. I might just, you don't want to miss. You don't want to miss the one, historic exchange, perhaps, or where someone just hauls off and belts somebody else. But, oh man! All right, so that's it. I'm done. I am done on that. Wow! My favorite story yesterday was this friggin' blimp. So, the blimp, which, who knew? Did you know that we had this big, huge... Now, the paper here says it was 100-some feet long, but on an interview I heard yesterday, the guy, the DOD trotted out on it, was saying it was 2 football fields long, which is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of feet. Anyway, it's a big, big, big thing. But did you know that we had such a thing that was tethered to this big, whatever that would be, cord of some sort? It's mooring, and that tether is 2 miles long. So when this thing is normally where it's supposed to be, it's up in the air, 2 miles, sitting over the D.C. area. And it is there as a national security base to have a 360-degree view of the air around the nation's capital. That's what it's there for. It is never intended to fly away. It's just a balloon stuck up. How the hell it became untethered is hard to imagine, because that wouldn't just be like, a little, tie a little bow on something. That would be some heavy duty thing. And then when it took off, it's dragging that 2 mile long tether underneath it, which was knocking down telephone lines and trees. And I guess, it was a good thing it didn't go over a heavily populated area, because there are some 30,000 people that don't have power in Pennsylvania because of its little errant trip. But the greatest picture, and I can't believe this picture is not front page everywhere, because it's just, the juxtaposition is so amazing. It shows the blimp coming down. It's hanging there in the sky. But in the foreground of the picture is an Amish buggy, horse and buggy. And you can't really see it because the blimp is white against a white sky. But there's something about... Here, I'll see if we can get it up there for you at all. Yeah, you can see it. That's the best picture I saw.
I'll tweet it as well.
Okay. I mean, it's a beaut. What the heck is that thing? Okay. Oh, excuse me. I have to do a quick little rant here, and actually, I am still so gobsmacked at what I am looking at here, and I'm looking at, I pulled this out of the Post-Gazette editorial page. I am looking at an endorsement that the Post-Gazette has made. The Post-Gazette, we recall, is considered the liberal newspaper, which I think is bull, okay? It's liberal by virtue of the fact that the editorial policies of the Tribune Review are, to the right of Attila the Hun. I guess that makes the PG liberal. It is absolutely extraordinary. I could not believe it when I saw it. But for you guys who live in Mount Lebanon, in the 37th Senate District for the state legislature, 37th District, you've got on Tuesday an opportunity to elect a new senator. And the Post-Gazette, it's beyond belief. I can't even, is somebody, are they like on drugs over there? Has some, what the, they have endorsed Guy Reschenthaler over Heather Arnay. Which, to me, this is one of those things. It's no-brainer. No-brainer here. Reschenthaler, the guy who was on a conservative radio show that made Jim Quinn look liberal. This, and they say Reschenthaler is the reform-minded Senate choice? What the fuck? I'm serious. I'm beside myself. And I am not alone. Heather Arnay is one of the more impressive women I have ever met. She's smart as hell. She's done amazing work empowering young girls and working as the founder and CEO of the Women and Girls Foundation. She's the one who took on Abercrombie and Fitch and backed them down so fast it was ridiculous with their sexist advertising. How in the name of God? I'm sorry, I might cancel my subscription over this. I've had it with you, PG. What the fuck? It's mind-boggling. Okay, so this is the district that is, it's Mount Lebanon, but it's more than that. It's Allegheny County, southern, western, and northern communities, plus Peters and Washington County. It's probably a 50-50 Democrat, Republican, but there are next to no women in our legislature. It seems to me you would bend over backwards, and you don't have to do that with Heather and I am just blown away. Blown away. You cannot get a more dyed-in-the-wool, right-wing, hawk Republican than this guy. And the liberal Post-Gazette endorses him. Well, I'll tell you. It woke me up this morning. I still can't believe my eyes. Man. Now, let's hope that nobody pays attention to endorsements. I bet some people do. Margie thinks that Ben Carson is the guy, that lived next door that was so quiet and nice, and then And he snaps. Well, he says he doesn't snap anymore. He just snapped that once when he was 14 and plunged that knife into somebody's midsection. Oh, Lord. Okay. So, I'm going to back up to some stories that we've already dealt with, but I've got some addenda too, if you don't mind. I mentioned the fact that now the American Cancer Society has come out and told women, don't worry about having a mammogram until you're like 45. And then when you're 45, maybe once every few years, but you don't have to do it every year. Now, see, I've been doing, because I was under the old ones, I've been doing it forever and once a year, right? Because that's what they told us we were supposed to do then. Now they're telling us, nah, it's not necessary, blah, blah, blah. And what I said when this news came out is, like so many things involving women's health, we get absolutely no direction at all. It's really, you're on your own, ladies. You decide whether or not you should do hormones. You decide whether or not, your risk of cervical cancer, your risk of breast cancer is greater than your this or blah. I mean, it is like, there's so much information we are given out there, and they keep switching it on us and telling us that was once absolutely you had to do, now, oh my God, don't do it. I'm sick and tired of listening to any of these people. They've lost all credibility with me. But the upshot is that 3 women, all of them cancer doctors and or surgeons, have written an op-ed in the New York Times today in which they say, we no longer wish to be associated with the American Cancer Society. That's how furious they are. They point out that since the ones that I lived with, get a mammogram, start earlier than 45, get one every year, that since those recommendations have been in place, the overall survival rate for breast cancer in this country is close to 90%. 90. Why is that? Because of early detection. Early detection. And the earlier detection there is, the less outrageous than surgical possibilities are, so that you can end up with lumpectomies instead of removal of an entire breast. Women with cancers that are detected at smaller sizes are able to have all kinds of other... And this is what these women are pointing out. And they are... 2 of them are 2 breast radiologists, 1 breast surgeon. They were all designated as Mothers of the Year by the American Cancer Society in recognition of their fight against cancer. And they all 3 have essentially sent in their membership cards. We're done with you. They point out that the panel that wrote the guidelines for the American Cancer Society on this did not contain a single surgeon, radiologist, or medical oncologist specializing in breast cancer. What? What'd they have, accountants? Yeah, as a matter of fact, that's sort of what they did have. You know who was on the panel? Not somebody who deals with breast cancer. People who were on the panel included an economist and a public health expert. So these are people who aren't dealing with the disease. They're dealing with the economics of it and how it plays out. And in fact, might have been considering this from an economic perspective, which is cutting costs. So let's not have so many of those mammograms. And let's not start them as soon as we do. And let's forget that since we did start them earlier and have them yearly, the breast cancer survival rate is astonishingly 90%. Duh. So, ladies, just saying, you're on your own. You figure it out yourself. You feel you want a mammogram. But see, now your insurance won't pay for it. Because when they come out with this kind of stuff, then the insurance companies say, oh, goody. Well, then we don't have to pay for that. I don't know. On your own. Good luck to you. Have you heard about the 17-year-old who has been sentenced to be crucified in Saudi Arabia? Oh, wait a minute. I didn't get that quite right. You'll be glad to know that before he's crucified, they cut off his head. So, they put his headless body up on a cross. So at least he won't endure the agony of hanging there, dying slowly. He will already be dead from being beheaded in a public square where the last thing he will hear is the jeers and cheers of bloodthirsty Saudis. Okay? What did this kid do? What in the name of God did this kid do? Well, after he was beaten to the point where his mother did not recognize him, he confessed that he had participated in an anti-government rally. They're going to cut his head off and crucify him. These are our great allies, the Saudis. These are the guys that our presidents bow to, put their arms around. This is one of the most despicable countries in the world, to my mind. Despicable. Human rights? I mean, Saudi Arabia should be right up there with North Korea in the way we look at it and in the way we condemn them. But, they're sitting on that oil. So we bow to them. The kid has been moved into solitary confinement. He is awaiting his execution. They don't tell him when it will come, but he had the gall to say something non-supportive of the government. Which, of course, is what I have trafficked in all my life without ever any fear of being arrested, let alone beheaded, let alone crucified. And that my country gives money and aid to this despicable monarchy. This despicable rich monarchy that has been at the base of all this lunatic radicalization of Islam. Their oil money has funded the building of schools, madrasas, right? All over the world, including in the United States, where the children are taught this lunatic brand of their religion. Wasabiism. we have blood on our hands here. This kid dies, blood on our hands. God. There was a little bit of good news today in regard to the wonderful Saudi system of justice, by the way. You might have heard that a British guy, 74-year-old British guy who's lived there for a long time, he's now in jail. And he has been sentenced to something like, 10 years or something in prison and 350 lashes. And what was his crime? He had some wine. He possessed wine. And understand that as anyone who's ever, and certainly these aren't women, but men, because men are the only people who count in Saudi Arabia, that if you were to be invited to a party in Riyadh, let's say, Saudi Arabia, with some of the high and mighty there and the rich, there is booze. There is anything you could want. The government officials drink like fish. I have this from Nicholas Kristof, who says, it's well known. He's been at these parties. He said, I've rarely seen as much hard liquor as at a Riyadh party attended by government officials. By the way, I think I heard, sitting in the traffic jam on the way here, that the Brit is going to be let go. Meanwhile, you have another guy, a blogger, who is in jail in Saudi Arabia, and I'm blanking on his name. He has argued on his blog for women's rights, for education reform, for freedom of thought, which he knew would get him killed. And yet he couldn't be still. This is a 31-year-old guy. Well, you can bet he's in jail. Been there for 3 years. He has been sentenced to 1,000 lashes. They deliver them 50 at a time, although even 50 at one time can kill a person. He's had his first 50. He's waiting. He'll be in prison the rest of his life while they mete out the other 995. No, 950. I'll get it, 950. Also on the way here, I heard that some European human rights organization or something has just awarded him essentially what's like their Nobel Peace Prize. They've just given it to him, which is a way of saying to the Saudis, just fuck you people. You are despicable. And Kristof says that, the greatest gift to Islamophobes is Saudi Arabia, because it does, through its wasabiism and and the way it treats human beings, it does more to damage the reputation of Islam than anybody. ISIS, it's not a big jump. Guys, we're appalled by what ISIS does? How's that? Okay, they behead people. Yeah? Okay, yeah. So do our good friends, the Saudis. They behead people for looking at them cross-eyed. What's the difference? ISIS, Saudi. ISIS, Saudi. One, we think of this great horror and scared out of our minds. The other is our friend. Don't ever fall for it again. anytime at our the idea that this jerk, this jerk king of theirs, comes to our country and is treated with respect is so maddening to me. I have no words. No words. Roger says, what I learned from last night's debate. Number one, from Fiorina, I learned that government intervention creates crony capitalism. What? Number two, media is the Democratic Party super PAC. Man, they love that one. That got a standing O from the yeah. If you don't like the question you've been asked, you just start screaming about the media and how the media are just doing the work of the Democratic Party. Even though, recall who was doing the debate last night, CNBC, that is the Wall Street arm of the NBC broadcast empire. That CNBC is like the platform for the capitalists on Wall Street. It was not a liberal operation, I assure you. Number three, poor white people should feel sorry for rich white people. Number four, content means nothing. Being loud and getting camera time is more important than discussing serious issues. And number five, GOP debates are like Jerry Springer shows and make Democratic debates look like Jeopardy. That's true. So the questions were bull, and Roger says that. They were, they are. They're like gotcha questions. And I thought the initial question that came to Donald Trump, it was rude. It was rude. I mean, look, for whatever reason, these are the guys that are out there. And if it's your job to moderate, then ask a question. You don't have to do the character assassination that they're doing or the undercutting. It was awful. It was unwatchable, I thought. What do we got here? Possible new tests for breast cancer just using urine samples. That'd be nice. Dorothea writes, Lynn, watching CNN, Ryan was just voted in as speaker. Yeah, only 9 Republicans voted against him. Boehner has not cried once today. No! I'm telling you, that is the happiest man in Washington. Without a doubt, the happiest man in Washington. Beth writes, yesterday there was some sort of a labor rally. Oh, good. What we need is rallies downtown, as well as the construction, as well as... There was a labor rally closing Oliver Street for over an hour. Many of us in our office could hear the crowd, but did not know what they were protesting, so we went to the Post-Gazette website. And there wasn't a goddamn thing there. There wasn't in the paper today either. There was never a mention that this thing happened. What is going on with our local news? We started treating it as a joke, checking throughout the day to see if the Post-Gazette, the liberal paper, would mention that there was this big union rally happening in Pittsburgh, closing down city streets. Nothing. In hearing today that the Post-Gazette endorsed this Guy Rethensler, after endorsing Corbett, what a great job that was, huh? I think it's time to rethink supporting the Post-Gazette, which I hate saying because I so strongly believe in supporting local newspapers. I'm feeling the same way. I've had it. And it ain't what it used to be, I'll tell you that. Yeah. What are they doing? And isn't that interesting? So they don't even cover a rally that goes on in the downtown in which the police close down streets. That's not worthy of coverage? It doesn't mean you support it, PG. It means you explain to people why maybe they were stuck in traffic for 10, 15, 20 minutes. They might be interested in knowing what the hell was that was going on. That is the job of a reporter of a local news fucking paper. Jeez. Dang it. All right, obit of the day. Dick Maugg. If any of you know who that is, I'll be so impressed. Dick Maugg, Maugg. 83 years old. You might have chuckled at him once or twice. Dick Maugg was part of a series of commercials that aired in the 80s with two old guys sitting on a front porch. And one was supposedly a guy named Bartles, and the other was a guy named James. And they would sit on their front porch talking about Bartles and James, their wine coolers. You remember that? And it was like sort of this like American Gothic approach. These two old guys, and they're just sitting there. And as a matter of fact, Dick Maugg, who's the one whose obit I'm doing, was the one who never said a word. He just sat there, stone-faced. And the other guy, Bartles, would go on and on. I guess no. I think the other... I don't know if he was totally silent. But he didn't say much. He was probably saying, yep, nope. And each commercial ended with the other guy, who's also dead, by the way, saying, thank you for your support. And people loved those ads. They were so silly. They were so sort of low-key, low-energy, stupid. Bartles and James. Now, those were wine coolers. They really sold well when those ads were on, and now Gallo, which is behind them, is barely producing much of it anymore. But here's the funny thing. So that guy who got famous for that famous little ad campaign, two guys sitting there, Bartles and James, he wasn't an actor, nor was the other one. The more talkative one was a rancher? I think he was. He was, they just got a guy who was like the person they wanted to, have. He was like a cattle rancher, I think. And the guy who just died, Dick Maugg, happened to be a contractor who had built the building that the ad agency who was charged with doing this was in. And they happened, they'd see him walking around, and someone in the agency said, hey, I think Dick here would be like perfect. And so this contractor gets himself into an somewhat iconic television ad campaign. So there you have it. They're both gone, though. That's like being discovered at the soda fountain if you were a pretty young girl back in the day. How come that never happened to me? I didn't get discovered. No one saw me and said, you, you got the perfect look. You are exactly what we've been looking for. Oh my God, I can't believe this. Didn't happen. So I happened to see that Alice in Wonderland, Lewis Carroll's masterpiece, but that thing has been translated into a gazillion languages. And you will not believe how, if you translate it, it comes out. It's been translated into Chinese, Czech, Danish, Dutch, Hungarian, Italian, Japanese, Norwegian, Pitman shorthand, what the hell, Polish, Portuguese, Russian, Serbian, Spanish, Swedish. I'm only a few. But so, like, how would you translate something like this into another language? Reeling and writhing. And then the different branches of arithmetic, ambition, distraction, uglification, and derision. I mean, how do you do that? The whole thing with Lewis Carroll was his language was so absurd. He made up words and language. So how the heck do you possibly translate it? So what they did is the Wall Street Journal came up with a few translations from other countries' books. You want to hear some of these? This is from the original. Twinkle, twinkle, little bat. How I wonder what you're at. Really? Did he do Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star? Okay, that's from the original. Twinkle, twinkle, little bat, how I wonder where you're at. Here is how it ends up getting translated. Spanish. Now, you twinkle-winged rat, on what are you so concentrated? All right, didn't like that one? How about Czech? A finch was sitting on a stump, a-tootling quietly. So I don't think I don't think it translates, obviously. Yiddish. Little goat, run up, catch a sentence, and eat it up. Well, that has more of the feel of Lewis Carroll, but how'd we get from bats to goats?
I like that one.
You like what?
I just like it.
It's a great book. And then Belarus. Pussycat, pussycat, scream with a dumb cry in the night. God. Slovenia. Along the lake near Mount Triglav, a pot drifts. What? And Italian, twinkle, twinkle, she-bat. When you are drunken, you're more beautiful. Oh, my God. And Urdu. Don't look up to sky. These crows, hawks, and birds, in some fashion, will fly. Translation is a real hard thing to do. It's a real hard thing, and I would think that Lewis and Carroll would be impossible. Impossible. Margie says, I have friends in the Middle East and everything is underground. Well, it's called hypocrisy. It's called, okay, for some people, it's underground, and for others, you get your head cut off and you're crucified. And women are treated like dogs. Do you know, in Saudi Arabia, not only are women not allowed to drive, but there are areas of Saudi Arabia where a woman is in a car as a passenger is not supposed to wear a seatbelt. Why would that be? Come on. You can figure that out. First of all, her life is not important, but second of all, and the much more, probably, the reason behind it is, a seatbelt pulled over her lap could show, in some sense, the outline of her body. You would see a waist, maybe, if she put a seatbelt on. And so women are not supposed to wear seatbelts. I think North Korea is a better country than Saudi Arabia. The argument could be made. The argument could be made. All right. I know I started late, but I think I'm done. I got one more thing. No, I don't. No, I don't. Guys, sorry for the late start. I will leave my house tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. I promise. I hope. Okay. Enjoy the sun, and toodaloo.